Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in to the show. Got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 44th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to get into, we got a lot of topics that we got to cover this week. We're about to get right into UFC. They have a pay-per-view coming up this Saturday, UFC 205. It's going to be a pretty nice pay-per-view. Definitely recommend you to check it out if you can. About to get right into these fights. But before we get into the main UFC pay-per-view card, we're about to get to the undercard for the fight real quick. First fight that we're about to get into, first and only fight that we're about to get into is Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Michael Johnson. Darnell, you've seen these guys fight. What do you think is going to be so special about these two getting in the ring?
Well, I mean, Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's a beast. I mean, technically, if they were going by rank,
RDA.
Yeah.
So yeah, that guy's a beast on his own. Yeah. So just looking at that.
Yeah, and he's coming back off an injury, but he did win his first fight back. In most people's eyes, he is the person that should be fighting Eddie Alvarez right now, not Conor McGregor. Based off of the rankings and everything, and I mean the guy has amassed a 23-0 record.
Yeah,
he's shown that he's been worth everything everything he's billed as when he came to the UFC. He's a well-rounded fighter. He's coming. Like I said, he just came back recently off of injury. I think he fought back in April, and that was off of basically a 2-year layoff. Beat Darrell Horcher. Thought he would be getting that title shot, but they worked it out where Conor McGregor would step in, so he still wanted to fight. That's the type of guy he is. So they gave Michael Johnson, who's been pretty solid himself as of late. If people haven't heard of him, you might remember from one of the Ultimate Fighter seasons.
Yeah, him and Bruce Leroy. So.
Yep. So I think it's an interesting matchup. It's a good opponent for Khabib to have that will still challenge him. That will have eyes on trying to take this fight down himself. He just had a big win to come off of 2 close losses, a split decision to Beneil Dariush, and then a unanimous decision loss to Nate Diaz that was closer than what most people would think. But he did just pretty much wax Dustin Poirier, which was a big win there, and I think that got him back on track, and this is a nice little measuring stick to see if he is one of those elite fighters.
Yeah.
But I think most people see it going one way, but I think it could be an interesting fight. Michael Johnson has really good boxing. If he lands the right couple punches, he can put people down. It's usually not one shot, but he can usually stun somebody and put them away. But Nurmagomedov can beat you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Now, just personally, do you feel as if Michael Johnson will hold up in this fight, or?
I mean, it's a 3-round fight. He's pretty good at staying away from damage. I'm not sure if he's been finished since he has been in the UFC. So, I mean, I think he'll hold his own. I don't think he'll get just railroaded. I think he's a little bit better of a fighter than that.
Okay.
But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we get like a sub or a TKO, like late second round, early third round, or something like that.
Okay. But how do you actually see this fight going now? You feeling Khabib with the win?
Yeah, I do think Khabib wins this fight. I think he's destined to go after that title holder, whether it's, I guess, Eddie Alvarez or McGregor. Okay. And I think he's a tough matchup for either of them, honestly.
Okay. So you think after this, if he pulls off this win, you think up next is a championship?
I don't know how you can't. 24-0, and you just beat a pretty good fighter coming back. He's like you said, he's beaten Rafael dos Anjos. Thiago Tavares, like some good names in that division.
Yeah.
And he's still undefeated. I think it's time for him to get that fight.
Okay. Okay, up next, we're about to hop right into some of the UFC, the main card. First fight that we're about to talk about is Weidman versus Yoel Romero. How do you see this fight going, Darno?
This one, like for Weidman, this is one of those situations, like when he fought your boy.
Yeah, don't even bring it up, man.
Romero, he's a big muscular fighter. He does have a decent gas tank, but he can also try to let a lot go, and just the common trend with muscular fighters, they gas earlier.
Yeah.
This is a 3-round fight, so he'll probably be a little better at pacing himself. But Weidman, when he's himself, if he looks like he looked against Luke Rockhold, then he might be in for a long night, especially with the power and wrestling that Romero has. But if he's the Chris Weidman we knew previous to that fight, and he's on top of his game, he's keeping distance, he's changing levels, going for takedowns, working to get pick his shots, it should be a fight that Weidman wins.
Yeah, I do believe, I'm going to be pulling for Romero, man, just because, Weidman, he is my man, Anderson Silva's kryptonite. He's beat him twice, so still salty to him. Chris Weidman, I do think he's going to win this fight, just because I've seen the guy fight, and dude's an absolute beast, but like I said, he beat my boy twice, man, so I'm going to be pulling for Yoel Romero in this one, but I think this is going to be a good fight either way. Chris Weidman is very talented, can take you down, has those hands too. This would be a good fight for him in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the first few minutes of this fight is going to be the most interesting part of it.
Yeah.
'Cause like I said, for one, we get to see if what Weidman was saying was true against Rockhold, was it injuries that made him look terrible, or is it just some kind of early decline that he's going through?
Yeah.
And on Romero's side, like I say, he does have a little bit of Vitor in him. He can start fast and start to fade.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been through some 3-round fights. He's gone deep. His last fight was a split decision against Ronaldo Souza. But he's also won some late TKOs in the third. Tim Kennedy was controversial, and Lyoto Machida, that one not quite so controversial.
Yeah.
But also there's the factor of, he did get off because it was a tainted supplement, but there's also that worry of juicing that follows him too.
Yeah. So do you think whoever wins this fight, you think they will get Bisping next? Or
I think so, especially since Rockhold's fight got called off.
Okay.
I think they're probably next in line. Dark horse would be the Tim Kennedy Rashad Evans fight that got moved from this card to the Toronto card.
Okay. All right. So, and up next, we're about to start getting to the championship fights that's going on for UFC 205. First of all, we're about to get right into the ladies. We have Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Yep, you got it. 2 Polish ladies going after it, man. Both undefeated as well. How do you see this going?
Somebody's about to lose their like you're saying, 2 undefeated fighters, 2 very good undefeated fighters. Joanna, she's making herself kind of a household name. I think she might be that female replacement to Rousey if she can get a better grasp on the English language and go with that. Because I mean, she's an absolute terror. Exciting to watch her stand up. Carolina, she's more of a slower paced fighter, but still very good, very dangerous. So Joanna, I don't think it's going to run over. I think this will be a tough fight. This will go into later rounds.
You see this could be as good as the Gadelia fight?
I mean, it could be.
Like
I think Kovalevich will keep her gas tank a little better. She fights a different style than Claudia Gadelia.
Okay.
She's not as wrestling based, and she's not as thick of a fighter as she was. And so I don't see her, losing it so fast. So she drops off a cliff like Gadelia did.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if the nerves will get to her at all, because she's only been in the UFC for a hot minute.
Yeah.
But she has amassed a 10-0 record over the course of her full career.
Only 3 UFC fights. Yeah. Her first fight in the UFC was the 19th of December last year. So yeah, she's very new. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, her last fight against Rose Namajunas was, I think that showed everybody she's pretty legit. She's very dangerous in the clinch. That might be the one spot where she tries to do her damage if she can keep the distance close with Joanna and, get that tie clinch going to where she can lay some knees and elbows and stuff in there. That's probably her best route.
Okay.
But I just don't think she has enough tools in her tool belt to deal with JJ.
Okay, so you have JJ winning this one as well as me?
Yeah, okay. I just think probably the strike volume will play out.
Yeah, because, like, to bring it back up, that Gadelia fight, once Gadelia started getting tired, man, she was just throwing punches like crazy. So, yeah, she has a very good condition when it comes to standing up and striking. She can throw as many as she wants in the ring. So,
well, and, I mean, from having to do the defensive wrestling that she had.
Too. So, yeah,
that's
exactly.
tiring.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody that's had to try to get out from under somebody that's trying to hold you down, that'll gas you quickly.
Exactly. So, yeah, good point there. Up next, we're about to get into I was waiting for this. I'm a huge Wonder Boy fan, man, especially his fight against Big Rig, how he was just doing his thing in there. That's really caught my eyes on him. But he's going to be challenging Tyron Woodley for his belt in this fight. So this is one that I'm really going to be excited to see. I do have major respect for Woodley, too. How you think this fight's going to go, Darnell?
I mean, this is a tough one to call, too. I mean, you got Woodley, who, if he touches your chin,
you saw what he did to Lawler, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and Lawler. I mean, how many wars has Lawler been through without falling down? And Woodley did it inside of a round.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I mean, this is real power coming from Woodley. This is a guy that probably walks around naturally at 200 pounds, fighting at 170. So, and he holds a lot of muscle, but he's conditioned nicely too.
Yeah.
But then you have the awkwardness of Stephen Thompson and his karate. He's the second coming of Lyoto Machida. He's that Rubik's Cube that nobody's been able to figure out yet. So I'm wondering if Woodley went and took a look at those two Shogun fights with Lyoto Machida to try to get some ideas, because I think that's going to be the type of fight that he has to fight to win. Is he has to stay in range. He might have to eat some shots, but as long as he protects his chin and he can land one, that's probably his best chance. Or if he can get some well-timed double legs. But it's kind of scary thinking if you want to drop your head and come in with this guy's legs and feet flying around.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just going to be a good fight, man. Just the styles, like you say, how Stephen Thompson, he can bounce around in the ring a little bit, just kick you with those crazy feat of his, and then you got Tyron Woodley, dude, just with explosive hands. This is just going to be just a good, entertaining fight to see how these guys, their technique, how they're going to handle each other in this fight, man. It's just going to be a good one to see. Now, who do you have winning in this?
I mean, I really like Tyron Woodley, but I just feel like Stephen Thompson's been on a tear, and just like I said, nobody's figured him out yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see Tyron Woodley close distance and, you know, make this a dirtier fight, because that's his best shot, and I'll be looking to see if he enacts that type of game plan. But yeah, if I had to put my money down, it would probably be on Wonder Boy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Wonder Boy, too. You know, like I said, I'm a huge fan of his fighting style. You know, you brought up the whole Rubik's Cube and everything, comparing him when Lyoto Machida was doing this thing, winning. I just feel like right now it's his time. However, you know, if Tyron Woodley wins this, I'm not going to be disappointed at all. This guy's an absolute beast. You know, he showed me that he's definitely worth being a champion. No fluke at all what he did to a guy like Lawler. So not going to be disappointed at all either way. But I just think right now, I think it's Stevens, Wonderboy Thompson's time to get that belt. So can you see a potential rematch, or is there you know, anybody else you could throw out that you would like to see fight either of these guys that you think's in line to get it?
GSP.
All right. We'll see, man. You know, he had that issue with the UFC, but, you know, never know. That's for sure. So, all right, this is the fight, the main event fight, man. It's always going to be the main event with Conor McGregor running his off at his mouth and stuff that he does. But him versus Eddie Alvarez, man. What do you think about this fight? And, you know, the antics that's been going on prior to them getting in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, pre-fight, Conor's been Conor, talking mad stuff and, you know, selling the fight, trying to get people prepared for it, you know, saying his usual outlandish stuff, what he's going to do to Eddie Alvarez, going to make him unrecognizable to his family and all this kind of stuff. But this is not the type of fighter that I think you're going to rattle with stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, you know, do you feel as if he's gotten into Eddie's head at all, or?
No, Eddie Alvarez, he's too much of a veteran. He's been in too many wars where he's going to be bothered by somebody making idle threats. It's gonna have to be proven to him inside the cage. You know, he's already, you know, he had to go through his fights to get this UFC title. You know, coming from Bellator, people were probably saying how he wasn't going to match up to the quote best fighters in the world, as everybody says are all in the UFC. He showed everybody that was wrong. He went through his couple tune-up fights, and then he starched RDA and took the belt. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think he's worried.
Yep. Now, how do you this is like you believe Eddie's going to win this one, right?
I do.
Okay, so yeah, I do too. Just like, how do you see this? How do you think it's going to happen? Early round knockout, or submission, or what?
I mean, I'm not sure like how early it happens. Like, I'm not gonna, like, Conor is a tough fighter. I'm not gonna say anything about him in this way, but I feel like this is probably his toughest matchup to date. I do give him respect for trying to call out people at upper weight classes. I know he's trying to get his money. I was a little bit, you know, him calling out Diaz. I was like, this one's not really like. Yeah, you're challenging yourself because it's somebody that's up a weight class, but you guys are basically the same size.
Yeah, exactly.
And Nate Diaz isn't considered elite at any weight class he fights at.
Yeah.
But
he's dealing with an elite guy right here for sure. So
yeah, I was gonna say, but now he's dealing with the elite of the elite for this weight class. So, and I think Eddie Alvarez kind of uses that blueprint that Chad Mendez was using against Conor. Eddie Alvarez is a really good wrestler, and he also has some power in his hands, as we saw in his fight against RDA. If he can get in range and get some hands on Conor, get him to the ground, and especially if he can get him out, it's going to be a long day for McGregor. McGregor's hope is to stay outside and use that precision that he punches with, and hope he can put Eddie down. But that's been proven to be very hard to do.
Exactly. I think Eddie's going to win this. I'm going to predict a 4th round knockout. I just think there's been a little bit of talk from Eddie, questioning Conor McGregor's conditioning. I think he's going to kind of focus on that in this fight, wait for McGregor's chin to drop some and start breathing out of his mouth instead of his nose. And I think that's when he's really going to attack and pounce on him like he did against RDA. When I saw that fight with RDA, he showed me that he was fearless, striking with a guy like RDA like that. So I think he's just going to wait for McGregor to get tired. But those fights against Diaz, there's been situations where Conor McGregor's conditioning, you started to question it. Particularly later in the rounds, that last fight that he had with Diaz. But I think he's going to wait for him to get tired, and then that's when he's really going to start to pounce on him. So don't really think McGregor's going to get in his head or anything like that. I think he's just focused. Who's this chump coming into my weight class, thinking he's going to take over? And I think he's just really confident. I think he's going to go in there and do his thing. So
totally agree.
Yeah. Now, cover the UFC 205 fights. Just final thing that came out this week with Jon Jones. His suspension got reduced. Just your quick thoughts on that and hearing that.
Yeah. Basically, for those that are kind of unaware, like I was even confused with it at first. I guess he did get the full suspension based on the criteria now that he's being suspended for. He went through arbitration, so he went before 3 arbitrators. They all agreed. He did take a substance that was on the banned substance list. It wasn't due to contamination or anything like that, but he wasn't doing it to gain competitive advantage. That's why the suspension's now a year and not more. And the suspension was retroactively back to June or July, can't remember. Okay. But he could possibly be back in the octagon by this summer. As far as thoughts on it, it's just another day in the life of Jon Jones, who can't get out of his own way.
Yeah.
He did something else that, He got suspended for taking what he called a penis. Well, he said the vulgar word for it. He said he took a dick pill.
Oh.
Yeah. So he got suspended for taking a medication for sexual performance. Don't know how he didn't possibly think that it might have something in it that might not be looked at well by a doping organization, because it is a muscle that down there. So, and you're taking something to, I guess, make you stronger in that department. It might have some other effects. So, just like I said, I don't feel like he was trying to cheat.
Yeah.
But still, like you're one of the most recognizable fighters in the world. You got to be smart enough to call whoever and say, hey, I'm thinking about taking this medication or pill or whatever. Can you guys let me know if it's on the banned substance list?
Yeah. So, just time and time again, just him getting, in trouble with a lot of crazy stuff, man. Hopefully this will be the last, because you already know Jon Jones is my guy. So I would love to see him get in the ring and fight Cormier again. Hopefully for the belt. But just have to see, man. Hopefully this will be the last straw, him with banned substances and, hitting pregnant women and with the car and all this other stuff. So, enough is enough. Hopefully, just won't have another situation where we have to talk about this because, dude's an amazing fighter watching that ring, watching one of the greatest fighters in the history of UFC, in history of MMA. And, don't really need to be talking about, his out of the ring situations compared to his in-ring ability. So, yeah, just hopefully, this will be the last time, he can get himself together, go in there and win fights, man, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's already a pound for pound great of all time for the organization, for MMA in total. Has the possibility still, just because he's young, to be considered the greatest of all time. But
yeah,
I mean, I just think it's to a point now where even with all of his greatness and accolades, he's not going to be able to be separated from his out of the ring antics. I mean, he's kind of like he's getting along those lines. Of course, he's not saying the crimes are the same or anything, but I mean, he's looking at being like the Mike Tyson of the UFC. Just a great. Everybody's always going to talk about how great his fights were, but there's always going to be a little bit of that trouble in history that's always attached to him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Any other thoughts on the UFC? Any other comments or anything?
Saturday should be fun.
Yeah, definitely going to get there earlier, man. Just these cars look great. Even there for the prelims, don't really care too much about prelims usually, but even the prelims are good for this fight. So, but just how do you think this? Because this is a pretty stacked card, man. How do you think this is? This card is compared to the 200.
Oh, I'm way more excited to watch this than UFC 200.
All right, yeah. So
I think the fights will be they will be better and more evenly matched, more exciting.
Yeah, so I feel the same way, man. This is just they're coming to New York, so they're definitely they got to bring out their A game for sure. So it's the first time having MMA in New York, I believe. So definitely bringing out their A game, man. This should be just a good pay-per-view for sure. So it could definitely easily be one for the ages. So have to see how these results are going to end up.
And kind of wish the New Yorker we were just talking about would have been on the card.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, man, just, hey, so I have to see maybe down the road when they get back, come back there again. So, pretty sure the UFC is going to be making another turn there. So,
that'll be a yearly stop at least.
Yeah. For sure. So, they just need to come back to Michigan, man. That was when we went there. That was one, that was a good one, too. So,
yeah.
All right, so up next, what we're about to get into is NCAA basketball. The season starts off tomorrow. Just real quick, guys, what are you guys' thoughts on this season?
Looks like it's going to be a fun opening weekend. Of course, what I'm looking forward to is my school, Arizona and Michigan State going at it in the Armed Forces Classic. See Michigan State's one of their best recruitment classes ever take the court and see how they are in live action against another elite team. Arizona has Kadeem Allen coming in, Parker Jackson Cartwright matching up with this young team. I'm interested to see if they can get battle tested early.
One thing that I think college basketball does really well, kind of like college football tries their best to do, is they try to still get some really good matchups to start the season. Here with the Armed Forces Classic, we have, really 4 real solid programs, the first of which Darnell just mentioned, Michigan State versus Arizona. Darnell and I have talked about this, a little bit prior. And, one thing I talked about with Michigan State being Darnell's, alma mater and, his squad, and I think we'll start with them. I feel like this team has a lot of depth. and granted, one of the better recruiting classes they've had in recent years. And the reason I say that is because, you could say Draymond Green and Denzel Valentine, but I think those guys developed into great players. I think this is the recruiting class that's going to start out as really good players. And you can agree or disagree with me there, but I think you'll agree with me.
No, I totally agree.
But they also have a lot of key returning players. You got, Tum Tum Nairn. You have Matt McQuaid, who played a big role last year. Kenny Goins, Gavin Schilling. Aaron Harris. Probably going to be one of their leading scorers this year. I think this Michigan State team kind of has what a typical Michigan State team has. They got some good, young, very promising talent, and they have the guys who've been around for a couple of years that know the system, know how it works, are going to bring these young guys along. And, I think this Michigan State team is easily, in that top tier in the Big Ten already, despite not knowing exactly what we're going to get out of some of these freshmen. Probably most notably, Miles Bridges, who, Darnell, you told me he's most likely going to be a starter, is what you're hearing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he'll probably be the one starter out of the recruiting class.
And Miles Bridges, moving forward, he's a 6'7" guard forward combo. One of those can play either or. Being able to get recruits in that can play multiple positions I think will only benefit Michigan State moving forward this year, because, look at Denzel Valentine. He could play the 1, 2, 3, or 4. And look at the player he turned into being. So I think Tom Izzo is getting on this train that if you can get stud freshman players that can play off the bat, whether they're gone in 1 or 2 years, getting them for the 1 or 2 years is better than getting them for 0 years. And we've talked about this as well. The idea that this is the way college basketball is moving, and Michigan State seems like they're starting to get on that train.
I totally agree. Yeah.
And so I mean, I guess in terms of the matchup with Arizona, Arizona is another class that always gets, good freshmen coming in. This year it looks like you mentioned Parker Jackson Cartwright, a returning guard. He'll be a good player. The only thing with Arizona is I feel like Arizona kind of gets hidden a lot of times, because it seems like, they're never, one of the last undefeated teams or anything like that. But by the time March rolls around, they tend to be one of the deeper teams. They find a way to build the depth. Coach Sean Miller does a fantastic job with that program. He really develops those guys for the month of March and April. And, I feel like they always have a really solid team come tournament time. You look at their roster, they got a couple 7-footers, and Dusan Ristic, he's a junior this year, and Lori Markkanen, I'm not really sure how you pronounce that, out of Finland, but they got a couple 7-footers coming off of having Caleb Tarzuski, who is also a 7-footer. It's the idea that they like to build that down low presence and kind of play an inside out kind of a game if they can. Arizona likes to work the ball inside. And that's going to be interesting, because I know one of your concerns with Michigan State is the idea that they don't have the typical height that they tend to get in some years. I believe Michigan State's tallest player is 6'9". So how are these 6'9"? Yes. So, for me, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup early on to see, do these 6'9" players from Michigan State play bigger than 6'9" and really match up with these 7-footers?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to have to be back to basics. A shot goes up, you find somebody and put your back on them, and they're going to have to run. And I think that's probably going to be the game plan.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Michigan, this is, and I don't want to call it like an abnormal team, like there's something wrong with them, but I think this is going to be one of the first real teams we see from Tom Izzo that's going to run the floor more than not. Granted, if they ever get the opportunity to run the floor, they do. But I think this is going to be one of the first times we see Tom Izzo really take running the floor as a game plan.
Yeah. Might be more of a run and shoot style offense with the collection of players that he has for this, especially his two big guys, Ben Carter and Gavin Schilling, both out for a while in the injury. So, I mean, I think the tallest player on roster right now that's playing is 6'8". So,
okay.
Oh, they have to do a lot of running around.
Yeah. And then I guess we can go ahead and start talking about the second matchup between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Kansas Jayhawks. I think, we can start with Kansas here, probably the more national program. Once again, Kansas, a lot like Michigan State, has that freshman stud, if you will, in Josh Jackson, who chose Kansas most likely over Michigan State. If you were to ask me, those were the 1-2. Josh Jackson being out of Detroit, being heavily recruited by Michigan State. For me, in my opinion, it was between Kansas and Michigan State the entire time, and chose Kansas. So a little bit, bad blood there for Michigan State fans. But, I think Kansas has the Michigan State type of roster. They have that star-stud freshman and the returning players. They got Frank Mason III. They got, Landon Lucas, a couple seniors. Just the idea that they should have a pretty complete roster with depth as well. So is Kansas going to be, the team a lot of preseason polls expect them to be, or do they be the Kansas team that kind of fades away and gets the national attention but doesn't have the record to back it up? It seems like we always get one of the two Kansas teams there.
Yeah, this is another marquee matchup here. Kansas, very complete squad here, and I am still a little hurt that we didn't get Josh Jackson to be that cherry on the top of a roster, but he adds a lot to Kansas. I assume he picked him because they have a more wide open offense where they let you do some isolation if they have that kind of player. So he's going to get more of those kind of looks, and I'm interested to see how Indiana bounces back, losing some big players from last year.
Yep. Yogi Ferrell.
Yep. Yeah, but still number 11 ranking. They still got a lot of talent. I want to see how it shows.
Yeah, now living in Hoosier land, basically, I live about an hour and 20 from Bloomington. The three big names for Indiana this year are going to be James Blackman Jr. coming off an injury, junior guard. Is he going to be able to basically pick up where Yogi Ferrell left off, or be better? That's going to be a big question for them. And then they have OG Anunoby, really good forward, sophomore, has a lot of talent, 6'8", very athletic. He's one of those typical, athlete over basketball player type of players where his athleticism will take over. And it doesn't necessarily come from a basketball background. He's another one. But then the player a lot of people thought could potentially leave last year was Thomas Bryant, 6'10" center, is a sophomore this year. A lot of people thought he may have left last year, but coming back, him, Anunoby, and Blackman Jr., really three solid returners to kind of center this program. For me, the matchup for Indiana versus Kansas is going to be a little different than the Michigan State Arizona one, where I think the inside is going to be the matchup. I think between between Kansas and Indiana is going to be a little more centered around the guards. Like I said, with Blackman and Anunoby, granted Anunoby a forward, but still a wing type player who can work inside. It's going to be interesting to see what the matchup with Josh Jackson is, because eyes are going to be on Josh Jackson for Kansas, and I think everybody kind of knows that. For me, I think we'll see Anunoby on Josh Jackson. Josh Jackson 6'8", Anunoby 6'8". I think that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. Both guys very athletic. That would be what I would tend to look for. One, is Anunoby going to match up on Josh Jackson? And two, how do each of them perform on each other? This will be a real test for both of them early on. Has the offseason prepared you for this? Are you going to play sound defense? Or are you going to let the other guy put up 15 or 20 on you? to me, I think that's kind of the key to look for here, as opposed to more of a general thing to look for in the Michigan State Arizona game.
Yeah. But either way, with both of them, I'm definitely ready for some college basketball.
Oh, definitely. And I don't, kind of like how we talked about with college football, couldn't have asked for a better opening start. I think this is a great 7 o'clock start, 9 o'clock start. I'll be tuned into both, definitely. And in reality, when March rolls around, we'll still be talking about these 4 teams.
Yep.
All right, guys. Anything else to add to college basketball?
Trey, on watch.
All right.
don't blow it off.
All right, man. I'm gonna check out those games for sure tomorrow, man. So, yeah, I'm gonna get some college games in this year for sure. So I've been sleeping on the sport. I usually watch it during tournament season, but gonna check out, see what you guys are about, man. So definitely will be watching it tomorrow for sure. All right. Up next, we're about to get to NCAA football. What are your thoughts on this new playoff ranking, and do you feel as if they got it right this time?
Yeah. I mean, I think the teams forced them to get it right. A&M had a loss, so the one that everybody was questioning why they were in the top 4 is no longer there, and Washington, who most people had gripes about not being in there, is now in. So, I mean, I don't begrudge anybody if they want to flip 2 and 3 or rework everything, but I think the right 4 teams are there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Darnell and I kind of faulted the committee for the first week of rankings because, the SEC bias, it's there. It's obvious. Everybody knows it's there. But, I think the best thing I heard from the selection show was don't freak out, because the week 1 college football playoff rankings are never what the end ranking is. So, in reality, let the first week rankings be what they are. Don't read too much into it because they will change. I think this is the week 2 rankings, which is week 10 of the college football playoff, or week 10 of college football. I think this is the most accurate picture we would get of an end result, because here we have 4 conferences represented. We have the SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12. And, what I tell people is, what has history shown us from the college football playoff? We have seen conference champions get in, so therefore the 4 conferences that have a conference championship are represented, and we have never seen a team with 2 losses get in. We've seen 1-loss teams get in. So the way we look at it, we have 4 undefeated teams in and 4 teams that are in line to be a conference champion. So right now, I think we have the most accurate picture of what an end result could look like. Could this change? Yes. Where I think we would see the most dramatic change is if either Clemson or Washington lose. I think a 1-loss Alabama could still squeak into a number 4 slot, and I think a 1-loss Michigan would fall into the 5 or 6, and Ohio State would slide in. So I think if we were to see Clemson or Washington lose, we could potentially see a second team from another conference. My figure would be if Clemson or Washington were to lose, Ohio State could slide in. So right now, I think we have the most accurate picture of what a final ranking could look like, and I think for where we're at in the season, for the teams to be undefeated, I think they deserve to be here. Yes.
Okay, so real quick, let me just ask you guys just to make sure. So you feel as if the Tide, Tigers, Wolverines, and Huskies, you feel as if right now those are the 4 best teams in college football?
I mean, they're undefeated.
Okay.
I think, yeah. I don't think you can't give me a nice enough case to have anybody below them jump those 4.
Okay.
And I think another thing we need to remember here is all of these teams still have another notable matchup to go. So there's still at least one more game to prove whether they really deserve to be here or not. And with a conference championship game, it's just another week to determine it all. So yes, I do like all 4 of the teams being here, but they still all have something to prove still.
All right. Now, what did you guys think about the Alabama LSU game?
Heavyweight fight.
Yeah. Defenses dominated for the majority of the game. I think the brilliance of Lane Kiffin took over. Lane Kiffin's been kind of one of the on and off stories of college football. Head coach, offensive coordinator, where's his fit? I think offensive coordinator under a brilliant mind is where he belongs. I feel like he really knows what to do with Jalen Hurts right now. He understands his skill set. He understands what the best situation is for him. Once they kind of let Jalen Hurts loose, let him use his feet, that game was over. He started getting big gains. And I think one of the most notable moments of that game was, I believe it was the fourth quarter, and I texted you guys. It was 3rd and 15, and Alabama ran this little screen pass and converted a first down. And it was kind of like, that shouldn't happen in this game. But it seems like Alabama always seems to make the right call at the biggest of times. And I think a lot of that has to speak for Lane Kiffin, knowing his offense and having faith in his guys to call a basic play and let his players make the play.
Yeah, I feel like the game was just kind of that war of attrition. I mean, both teams were lights out for 3 quarters, and then I'm feeling like those late calls from Kiffin was by design. I think. I think they knew they were dealing with a monster of a front seven, and they used every running back I feel like is on the roster. I feel like pretty much everybody got carries, and in the fourth quarter they went strictly with Bo Scarborough, basically their biggest hammer, to keep cracking at that D line to get them packing in, and then that's when Lane Kiffin pulled out a couple plays to get Hurts on the outside, and then the daggers started coming in there. He started eating up yards, and ended up with his 114 and that late touchdown. I mean, of course, still got to give a ton of credit to LSU. Their defense was amazing for outside of allowing that one touchdown, and I don't think there's anything they can do on that one. It was perfect play call perfect broken play run basically for what happened. It was supposed to be a pass play, but they got too far outside and Hurts killed them. But LSU's front was a monster. None of Alabama's true running backs averaged more than like 4.5 yards carry basically. So, I mean, and with their run game and their offensive line, that's a feat.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Ty.
I was going to say just real quick, Ed Orgeron, I think he deserves a lot of credit here, taking over a team mid-season, basically turning their season around and, just producing a game like that. I understand it was 10-0, but I think LSU played a lot better of a game than a 10-0 game. Like you said, Darnell, that defense, they rose up, they played big. To only give up 10 points to Alabama, that in itself is no easy task. I mean, you look at some of the other quote unquote big matchups Alabama's had. They put up over 40 on Tennessee and over 30 on Texas A&M, and won by 20 and 30 plus. Oregon Orgeron had these guys really prepared. He had them fired up. They played a heck of a game. It was just the fact that offense couldn't get anything going against that Alabama defense. And I think we've all said it for weeks. That Alabama defense is for real. They're nothing to mess around with.
Yep.
Yeah, Ty, you basically just took the words out of my mouth with LSU's coach. Previous when I first heard Les Miles they got rid of him, I was pretty nervous about this LSU team, and I was like, who are they going to get as their coach? Which, I think they found it right within their team. So he's been looking quite impressive. Had a good game plan against Alabama. Hurts, he started to get loose on them a little bit and it's helped them Alabama win that game. But Ed Orgeron, he looks very promising for this LSU football team. So even though they would have loved to get a win, I think this guy's the future for that LSU football team. So I think they're going to be happy if they decide to stick with him, continue to stick with him down the road. So I think that was just really just showing his talent so far this year.
Yeah. And little side note, Trey, your boy Trent Richardson got to get some exercise pretending to be Leonard Fournette the week before with the scout team.
Oh, really?
Help Alabama prepare. So
can't crack an NFL roster.
Yeah,
but he can crack the practice squad in college.
Yeah, back on the Alabama scout team.
Hey, man, that's better than nothing, man. I love to see him in the NFL, but at least he got something going. So.
Well, hey, they held him to 35 rushing yards, so it worked.
I was gonna say a lot of people thinking, number one running back. Alabama's made him very quiet 2 years in a row.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready for the pick'ems?
I need to make up some ground, so yes.
Yeah, that with Nebraska was last week. Yeah, I guess.
Hey! Tommy Armstrong got hurt. It would have been a different game.
Got hurt early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so D knees. So Darnell, he's up. He's number one right now, 28 out of 38. I'm second, 26 out of 38, and Ty, he's last with 25 out of 38. So very close right now. Still got a lot of games to cover. So up first we have USC versus Washington. Washington, they have a -9 lead for the spread.
Yeah, give me Washington. I think they just have enough. I think they're really pushing for the playoff spot. And they understand that first that comes with a Pac-12 championship game berth. So I think they're going to play big here. It's going to be a good win if they get this one. Granted, any win against USC is a pretty good one. So give me Washington Huskies. I'll take them 35-17.
Yeah, I'm taking Washington too. I just still not at the point where I can trust USC in a big game. And I don't think they have the talent to deal with Washington. So taking Washington as well, 31-21.
All right. I'm going to go Washington. I just think that they're just a better team. So the better team should win this one. So I'm going to go Washington 27-14. All right. Up next, we have Minnesota versus Nebraska. Both of these teams are 5-2. 7-2. And Nebraska, they have a -7 lead with the spread.
Yeah, I think the interesting call here is whether Tommy Armstrong is going to play or not. Suffered an injury, what seemed to be a really scary injury, actually, at Ohio State. Came back, seemed to be, moving just fine, but still has to clear a couple tests. So at that point, I'll take the Nebraska defense still. I think that offense will find a way to at least do enough. Especially if they don't have Tommy Armstrong. If they have him, I expect a regular bounce back game that you typically see from a team that suffers a big loss like that. But I'll still take Nebraska anyway. I think their defense is gonna shut down whatever Minnesota tries to put at them. So I'll take Nebraska 28-21.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in line there too. Tommy Armstrong took quite the hit last week. I'm not sure if he will be on the field, but I just think Nebraska probably still has enough, even without him, to if they have to keep the ball on the ground, even fine. I think they still should be able to get past a Minnesota team that's been solid, but I just don't think they're there yet. So I will go with Nebraska as well, 27-21.
All right. I'm trying to get to that number one spot, man. So I'm going to go with Minnesota on this one. So. Nebraska, they got the her QB, so could maybe come back, maybe not. But got to get some points, get back to my number one spot where I deserve to be. So I'm going to go with Minnesota. Let's see. Give me 24-17, Minnesota. And up next we have West Virginia versus Texas. Texas, they have a -2 lead for the spread. Who you guys got?
I'm going to take West Virginia here. I think their offense is going to show up. They have a high-powered offense. This is a game where I think defenses will be an afterthought. I think both teams have the ability to score the ball, and I think both teams will score the ball. So I will take West Virginia here, 35-31.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna go with the Longhorns here. So giving you a chance, Ty.
I'll take it anywhere I can get it.
This feels like one of those games that Texas and more so Charlie Strong needs. One to pad that resume, another win against a top 25 team, maybe get himself back in the top 25 with a win. So I think he goes hard to get that team prepared to come in and do what they can to control these Mountaineers. So, like I said, I'll take Texas in a close one, but yeah, probably like Ty said, a lot of scoring. But I will take Texas 34-31.
Okay, I'm gonna go West Virginia on this one. Just think that they're just gonna just have their game against Texas. Texas has been a little inconsistent to me this year. I think they've just lost some games, or I think they should have won. They should have just performed better in some games, and do believe this is a good one for Texas coach to help pad up his resume. But I just don't think he's going to get it. So I'm going to go West Virginia. Think this was going to be a pretty high scoring game. Give me 31 to 38 West Virginia. All right, up next we have Ole Miss versus TAMU, Texas A&M. Who you guys got?
Well, as I said last week, I publicly said I would never take Ole Miss again, and I'm going to stick to that. So I'm going to pick Texas A&M in a comeback game, 31-18.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, it's easy to pick against the Ole Miss Rebels right now. They are without their good half, bad half quarterback, Chad Kelly. He's out now for the rest of the year, so their season, it was already shot. Now it's totally shot. So I think, and it doesn't help now with a probably angry Texas A&M squad coming in, knowing that they just lost their spot at getting to the college football playoff. So I take the Aggies by boat race, 38-14.
Right.
Hey, now remember, Trevor Knight is out for the season as well.
Yeah, but I just feel like Texas A&M has a little bit more still.
Yeah.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree with this one. I saw bad Kelly all season. I don't want to see what the backup's going to look like. So, it's,
if you couldn't put something better on the field than that.
Yeah, man. So just give me Texas A&M, man. So yeah, give me 31-13. All right. Up next we have Oklahoma versus Baylor. Oklahoma, they have a -16 lead with the spread.
Yeah, I'll take Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield's playing some really good football right now. He's thrown for a boatload of touchdowns in the last couple of weeks. He just seems to be hot right now. That offense seems to be rolling. The defense is a different story, but I think they'll figure a few things out this week, get a few more stops. But the offense, I think, will continue to roll. Give me Oklahoma in this one. I'll take them by few scores. I'll take them. Give me 38-28.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Two teams here that like to put up points, but one of them seems to have a lot more just odd stuff off the field going on, with Baylor still trying to, show support for Art Briles and everything, and still keeping that whole sexual assault deal front and center on the team. I think that's probably getting to causing some issues in the locker room even. So I think we have a disjointed Baylor team stepping in against Oklahoma, who's been playing good football lately. So I take them in a pretty decent-sized win as well. Take the Sooners 41-21.
All right. For some reason, I'm just feeling a Baylor win this week. They're going to be playing at home. I think that's going to get to Oklahoma. Oklahoma, they are on a roll, but, they started off being inconsistent to me, but the team is flowing right now, but I just think Baylor's going to get the W this week. So give me Baylor. I do have it being a close one. Give me Baylor 34-31. And last but not least, we have LSU versus Arkansas. Who you guys got?
Give me LSU. I think their defense is for real. Arkansas has been very inconsistent, especially against good defenses. They practically disappeared against Auburn. I expect this to be a similar situation. That LSU defense showed the national stage what they can do last week against Alabama. I think that defense keeps it up. I think the offense finds a way to score a few times. I don't expect them to score a lot, but I expect them to score enough. Give me LSU 21-10.
Okay.
I'm going with LSU for this one too. Think it'll be another good matchup. I am worried that LSU comes out a little bit flat after playing Alabama and being in the game basically until the last quarter. But with the talent they have on defense, they should be able to win this game and take it out. So I'm going to go against my nerves and still stick with LSU and take them 21-13.
All right. You gave us a War Eagle before, man. Can we get a Go Tigers?
I'm picking them to win. Why are you trying to have me do this?
Oh, man. All right, man. That's fair enough.
All we did was ask for a pick, not torture.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm going to go with LSU as well. They looked impressive last week against Bama, man. So I think even though they lost, I think they're going to be a little bit mad after that loss too. I think they're just going to bring it to Arkansas. So I think LSU is going to pull it off. Have them winning 21-10. All right, guys.
Breaking up now, just so you know.
Yeah, we lost them.
All right, up next, we're about to get right into the NFL, particularly the NFC North. We talk a lot about the Lions on the show. We're from Michigan, so just talk about the NFC North this week. Even though we don't really have that much to say about the Bears. Chicago, y'all did win y'all World Series in baseball, so, at least y'all got something to talk about. But, first and foremost, guys, just the Packers. I believe we all had them winning the division, I believe, when we did our preseason talk about the NFL. What do you think is wrong with them so far this year?
Yeah, they are struggling. Nobody on the team seems to be right. Starting with Aaron Rodgers. He just doesn't seem to be the Rodgers that we're used to seeing. He doesn't have chemistry with Jordy Nelson like they had pre-injury, and their defense, which was the highlight for them, especially their run defense, that's fallen off too. So they have a lot of issues and not a lot of time to fix them.
Yeah. I would even possibly argue that they don't have issues. They just have too many options. And I think the reason I'd say that is because, okay, you have look at your wide receiving core. You have your Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, your 1-2 option. Then you have Ty Montgomery, Devontae Parker, your 3-4 option. So there's 4 guys very capable of catching the ball. All can have monster games at any time. But then you're looking at the running back situation. Okay, Eddie Lacy's out, so now you got to factor in James Starks, who's now back from injury. And before that, you weren't sure if you were going to go with Niall Davis, who they signed and released. You weren't sure if you were going to go with Randall Cobb out of the backfield or Ty Montgomery out of the backfield. I think they just have so many options to choose from right now. They just haven't found a real solid answer for just the depth that they have. I mean, I feel like that should be an easy problem to deal with because you could just about do whatever you want with whoever you want. But it almost seems like you could, if you have a route where you have 3 guys running, where you have a 3 wide receiver set, all 3 of them could be open at the same time and you almost don't know who to give the ball to. I mean, I feel like if you have Devontae Adams as your number 3 receiver and Ty Montgomery as your 4 receiver, that's probably the deepest receiver core in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they do have weapons, and at times different people blow up for them. But, I mean, I guess that's an option for them. I don't see too many quarterbacks that would be mad about having lots of people they can throw the ball to at any time. But, I mean, I guess at this point you got to start looking at every option. Because like I said, the weeks are winding down to that play for winning the division or getting one of those wild card spots.
Yeah, and and I think I guess if I really want to stick to the original question here and ask, what seems to be the problem? I mean, Aaron Rodgers in the second half of games is almost non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
That was a problem in the first half of the season, and it's still kind of carried over. I mean, this past week they, in reality, had a bad loss to the Colts. They should have beat the Colts at home. The Colts aren't that good offensively or defensively. They just, I don't know. It just seems like the defense has taken a step back and the offense is not advancing. Like the offense is kind of at a standstill right now. It seems like Aaron Rodgers can't hit the deep ball like he usually has in the past. The run game is nowhere to be found, in my opinion, with or without Eddie Lacy. Their receivers, I feel like, are playing fine, but that's only when Rodgers is getting them the ball. So if we want to diagnose something, I think it could come down to there's no run game and Aaron Rodgers is inconsistent. I think those are the kind of the 2 places I look.
Let me ask you this then. In all sports, basically all team sports, when it comes to the end of the year, they look at coaching. Coach is usually one of the first guys to go. How much is this the coach's fault?
That's tough to tell. I think that's a very hard gauge. Because, I mean, I don't think the play calling's bad. I don't think the personnel is bad. I think this is, in my opinion, more of a players aren't producing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's definitely something that the Packers front office will have to look at. Really, not much has changed about this team over the last 3 years, but they've been on a decline. I mean, you chalked up last year to injuries to players. You got a lot of people back this year, and this was supposed to be the best defense they've had in a while. Yet they're dropping games to teams that they should be beating. Like I just said, the Colts. Any team with a solid offense and what's perceived as a upper tier defense, they should not be beating
you. Yeah. Now, all right, guys. What do you guys think about that Lions-Vikings game that happened?
Oh, heck of a game.
Yeah.
Heck of a game. In my opinion, I think we look at that game as classic Lions, mixed with a good Minnesota Vikings defense. And I guess what I mean by that is this was a game where during one particular series for each team, you're looking at the game. You're looking at the Lions offense against the Vikings defense, because in reality, the Minnesota offense versus the Detroit defense is a crapshoot. Both are terrible. We're not looking at much on either side there. So when Detroit's offense was on the field and Minnesota's defense was on the field, that was the game, and that's what was going to decide it. If we look at just pure statistics, I mean, Matthew Stafford didn't have a incredible game. The defense didn't play poor. It's just the fact that the Lions made a huge pass to set up Prater for a 58-yard field goal, and found a way to just score the ball in overtime. I mean, Golden Tate made a heck of an effort. You know, he stiff-armed the guy off of him after fighting for coverage. And then he just willed himself into the end zone. I think Detroit's offense did enough. Clearly they did enough that they won the game, but that Minnesota offense just has so many question marks around it that it makes me hard to believe that they can win the division by not scoring points. That defense can only do so much for that team. That offense has to help out that defense. I think the Lions moving forward, once again, still have to pick up the defense, but I think their offense has proven that they can win a game against the best defenses out there. They just have to they just have to get themselves into a position to be in every game. They can't have turnovers. They can't have Stafford, making poor passes. They honestly just have to be in it with only a couple minutes to go, because Stafford's proven if there's a chance for him to march down the field in the fourth quarter, he has a good chance to do it.
Yeah, it was just another one of those situations. Whereas it's been for the last few years, Stafford just seems to work best in a late game, no huddle situation. The less he has to really think and go through progressions where he has hot reads to look at and just go. He just seems to work better in that type of situation. And he got some help from Minnesota's defense in that fourth quarter. They kind of had two bad brain farts getting penalties called on them, and made it easy for the Lions to get in the field goal range and get to OT, and then they did their job when they got to overtime as well. So, I mean, good on the Lions. They did what they needed to do, but bad on the Vikings that the consistent, strong part of their team cost them.
Yeah. All right, guys. Now, seasons first started off, the Vikings were, clicking. They were winning. Really caught my eye. But right now, they're on a 3-game losing streak. Should this team be worried at all right now?
Yes.
I agree. The offensive line looks terrible. The defense, in my opinion, the defense is playing well enough to win games. They gave up the most points they've given all season last week to the Lions, and I think they only gave up 22. So that's a great defensive effort still. That offense needs to pick it up. Without Adrian Peterson, they have no run game. That offensive line can't protect Sam Bradford. And in reality, Sam Bradford's not even a top 15 quarterback. So, I mean, you could probably argue him into the top 15, but I think exactly. So, I mean, when you already have a quarterback that low in the chart and you're not protecting him, it's not a good recipe to win. So they need to figure something out, whether it's with the offensive line or Bradford just getting rid of the ball or the run game. But I think that offensive line has a lot to do with it. If they want to hold on to this division, which they have a half game lead in, they're going to have to figure things out offensively. Because in my opinion, that defense has it together. They're just on the field too much.
Yeah. I mean, like we were saying for the Packers, that they have lots of issues. The Vikings, they just have they have lots of issues on offense. Recently lost their offensive coordinator. Like Ty said, the O-line just seems to be a train wreck right now. And You have a quarterback that's starting to show what people thought when they made the trade to get him. He's not a guy that you can trust for a whole season. He's healthy, so that's a surprise. But he's not the quarterback that's going to win you games. He might not blow one for you, but you can't trust him to pull off what Stafford did in the end of the fourth.
Yeah, and I think the thought behind Sam Bradford is a game manager. I think Minnesota knew what they were getting when they signed him. I think they knew they were getting a guy that can move the ball, but isn't going to will your offense down the field. I think they got a guy to score 20 points a week, thinking the defense will win them more games than the offense will. It's just over the last couple weeks, they've played a couple better offenses. I mean, I think you could say the Lions have a top 10 offense in the league, in terms of being able to move the ball, being able to score the ball. But I think that they're just relying too much on the defense. They've said the NFL is an offensive league. It's a quarterback-driven league. You have to be able to put points on the board. And Minnesota struggles to do that already. They have 3 and outs, what seems to be almost every other drive. So that offense needs to stay on the field. They need to keep the defense off. Bradford needs to be a little bit more than a game manager. He needs to actually put points on the board for this team. The offensive line needs to figure it out. The running backs need to figure it out too. They need to work in line with that offensive line. It's just the idea that offense still has so many steps it needs to take. And the unfortunate thing is we're on week 10 of the season. Yeah. So to still be saying that an offense needs to figure it out, it makes me wonder if it's too late.
Yeah. Now, do you guys think the Lions can actually end up winning this division?
I don't think it's impossible. Things are playing into their hands. I mean, like we said, Minnesota has a lot of offensive questions. Green Bay looks inconsistent. They look to have more times of struggle than times of success. I believe they are, what are they, 4-4, 4-5? 4-4. Either way, the Lions really seem to be. They're in a prime position right now. I don't think they could have asked for anything better, being a half game back going into your bye week. I don't think many people expected that.
Well, 5-4.
5-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think anybody expected, Detroit to be in the position they're in currently. So really for Detroit coming out of the bye week, they need to shape up their defense a little bit. If they want to do anything, they have to get that defense in shape. Stafford's doing what he needs to do. He's winning games. He's in a lot of national conversation, which whether it's MVP talk or not, I don't really care, but he's gaining the respect of the league post Calvin Johnson. A lot of people are respecting what he's doing now that he's able to do it without him. And, I think Detroit, moving forward, they have a schedule that, I think could potentially favor them. Granted, they still have another matchup with Minnesota, but all of their division games are at home. I mean, they have Jacksonville at home, Minnesota at home, Chicago at home, Green Bay at home. But if you look at a couple places where they could potentially slip, you're looking at New Orleans, a really tough place to play against a very high-powered offense that always produces at home, and you're looking at Dallas. So I think those are the 2 real struggle games moving forward. But like I said, having the rest of your division games at home, that's just a benefit moving forward.
Yeah, they're kind of they're in the best position that you could be in this NFC North. You just won a game over the team that you're looking up at. The team just below you, like I said, they have lots of problems that they're dealing with, so they're definitely beatable. And Bears have only won 2 games all year, so they're definitely beatable. So, prime position to make a move. They have winnable games on their schedule. Minnesota's offense, I'm not sure how many teams that they can continuously beat.
All right, guys. Anything else to add to the division before we get to the pick'ems?
Go Lions.
All right. First off, I got to announce him. Darnell, he's ahead right now, 18 out of 38. I'm in second, 17 out of 38. Hit him with that Fetty Wap in 3.
7:30. Yikes.
Oh man, the top 16.
Someone had to do it.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that. So yeah.
Hit him with the Fetty Wap.
Yeah. But yeah, 16 out of 38 for Ty, man. So first game we're about to get into, the Lions, they had a bye week this week, so we're not getting into them like we usually start off.
I will still take the Lions to win big.
All right,
they'll beat the bye week.
Yeah.
Where they typically lost in the past.
Yeah. For sure, man. But we got Denver versus New Orleans. Who do you guys got? New Orleans -2.5 lead for the spread.
Yeah, tough one. I think this is the toughest pick'em we probably had all year for the NFL. Here, I said it a minute ago, it's an offense-driven league. Denver struggles to move the ball, and they have some key injuries on their defense. Wolf is out, and I believe they said Aqib Talib is out again, or is looking to be out again. So I'm actually going to take New Orleans in this one. Drew Brees, phenomenal quarterback, has that offense going. Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas is emerging. Give me New Orleans. Not in a big one. I still think Denver will be able to move the ball in this New Orleans defense. They're not very good. So I'll still take New Orleans though. Win by a few. I'll take them 31-21.
Yeah, I find this one to be an interesting game too, just because the Broncos they seem to be slowly losing their shine as well. The Trevor Simeon project seems to be starting to go bad. Seems like he's starting to crack under some pressure, and Denver's defense, like you said, injuries are piling up on it, so they aren't able to carry him and keep him safe, basically. New Orleans, on the other hand, their offense is cranking on all cylinders. Their defense is still bad, which is the hope for Denver. But I'm actually with you on this one, Ty. New Orleans at home, where they play even faster, eat up yards even easier. Like I'm feeling like this hurt Denver defense is one that Breeze might be able to just shred. So I'm going to take New Orleans in this one too, 27-24.
Okay. I'm actually going to go with Denver on this one.
Of course you are.
Yeah. Their D is banged up. Well, got players, both sides banged up. But I do think this D is going to do enough to contain Breeze and New Orleans' powerful offense enough just to get by with a win. I think Denver, their offense is going to do pretty decent against New Orleans' bad defense. So just think, Denver just going to find a way to just get a win out of this one. So I'm going to go with Denver in a close one, 24-20.
Yeah, I think if a quick key for Denver, I think Devontae Booker is going to have to be big if they want to win this game. They're going to need him to chew up 4 or 5 yards on first down and really give Trevor Simeon some third and shorts. I think that's going to be a real key if they want to stay in this one.
All right.
And work to keep New Orleans offense off the field.
Yeah. And feed the ball to Emmanuel Sanders because he's on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Force feed him.
All right.
12 plus targets.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. Up next we have ATL versus Philly. Let's see if I can get the Atlanta, they have a -2 lead for the spread.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Philly here. Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, they've been a deadly combo all year. Expect that to happen again. Philly has a good defense, and I think they proved it. I don't think anybody's questioning that team. But offensively, they've started to slow down. Carson Wentz, kind of like we've talked about, kind of losing a little bit of the luster, but I do think he's the right move. Playing him, starting him, I think that was the right decision for Philly this year. If it starts to go south a little bit, I won't blame them. Carson Wentz still has to get the hang of the NFL. Got to play for 16 weeks. It's a long season, but I think Atlanta just too much offensively, and I don't know that Philly has enough offensively to keep up. So I'm going to take a Atlanta victory here. Hopefully Devontae Freeman for fantasy purposes kills it. I expect a touchdown out of him, but I will take Atlanta by a score of 35-24.
Did you just switch your pick by that?
Yeah, I thought because I thought he said Philly at first.
No, I meant to take Atlanta.
Okay,
I'm choosing Atlanta.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
not the only one.
Yeah, at first you said Philly. I was like,
did I?
Yeah.
No. I want Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm making that perfectly clear. I want Atlanta. I think.
I was gonna say you running some trickery here, Ty.
No.
I'll pick both teams. I can't lose.
Got to make up the ground. No, but I want Atlanta. Give me Atlanta 35-24.
Say, man, Ty,
their offense is better than Philly.
Yeah. All
right. I'm gonna go with Philly here just for the simple fact that they're at home. They're a lot better in the confines of Philly, so I think they'll look a little better. I think Atlanta might have a little bit of trouble, and Philly their fans are crazy. They tend to help somewhat when they don't hate their own team. Yeah. So I think this is one where I don't know. I feel like the home team wins here. Carson Wentz snaps out of his funk a little bit. Maybe they let him throw the ball downfield once or twice. See if that works. All right. So give me Philly. 27-21.
All right. I'm going to go with Atlanta on this one. Just when in doubt, got to pull my boy Julio Jones and the rest of that wideout crew for Atlanta. Matt Ryan, he's having a great MVP season. A lot of people say, some people have him as their top guy. Just think Matt Ryan and those wideouts are going to get the job done up in Philly. So I'm going to have Atlanta winning this one 27-17. Okay, we have Kansas City versus Carolina. Carolina, they have a -3 lead for the spread.
Yeah, an interesting game. I mean, a struggling Carolina team against a Kansas City team that, I don't know, always kind of struggles, or at least it appears they always kind of struggle. Offensively, I just don't think Kansas City has enough here. I think Carolina's starting to figure a few things out, and I think this will be a nice win for them. I think we see a good week out of Kelvin Benjamin and Cam Newton. Jonathan Stewart as well, I think, is poised for a big week. He came off of 2 big ones, had a letdown. I think he kind of plateaus a little bit here and finds the end zone, especially against a good pass defense. Kansas City, I believe, has an interception in like the last 5 weeks or something like that, or some crazy stat. But, the pass defense will play well. They'll focus Kelvin Benjamin, really have to keep an eye on Greg Olsen. But I think Carolina's run game could do some damage this week. So I'll take them. I think they'll move the sticks all day. I'll take Carolina here, 27-17.
All right.
I'm going with Carolina as well. Their defense actually looked like defense from last year in their last game. That was a good sign. And I think after Cameron's meeting with the commish, that he gets a little residual effect that the refs protect him a little bit in this game. Maybe gives him a couple calls that will help them out from some of the hits he takes. I think with those factors coming, Carolina in front of their home crowd, I think they take this as well. I'll take Carolina 27-20.
All right, I'm going with Kansas City on this one. This is a gut feeling that I'm just picking with, so no particular reason, just got to roll with your gut sometimes. So
Hey, I love it.
The other two picked.
I love it. I love it. Giving me ground to make up.
Yeah, man. So gonna go with Kansas City. Just hopefully they just get the job done. Like I said, I got a feeling, so I'm gonna roll with them. But Carolina's they've been starting to roll. Kind of like what you said too, Darnell, with Cam Newton. Hopefully he can get some calls since he's been taking a beating for quite a while now throughout his career in the NFL. So hopefully that'll play in his advantage as well. But do have Kansas City winning this one. I will go with Kansas City 20-14. Then up next we have Darnell's boys, Dallas Cowboys versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, they have a -2.5 point lead for the spread.
I feel like this is one. I mean, you never like picking against your own team, but I feel like this is one of those like trap type games. Pittsburgh is coming off of a badly played game last week. It's Roethlisberger's second game back. I think the Cowboys do still having a bad defense. And this is a team that's built that can keep that defense on the field. They run the ball, and this is a potent offense. So I actually have a feeling that Pittsburgh takes this one. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh 28, 23.
All right.
Yeah, for me, this turns into, do I want to gain a game on Darnell, or do I want to go with who I actually think's going to win? But I think I'm going to follow suit here. I think Pittsburgh bounces back. The defense will play angry. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people think it could potentially be. But I think a lot of people are really serious about the Dallas Cowboys now. I don't think anybody's taking them lightly. I don't think anybody's thinking Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott are two little rookies. These guys are for real. The nation knows it. Everyone knows it. I think the question for Dallas, especially offensively, is Dez Bryant going to become a consistent part of this offense or not? It seems like he either has a big game or he has 2 catches. So what's going to happen there? That's going to be what I look for. Is if Dez Bryant gets involved in this offense, I expect Dallas to be in some third and what is deemed long situations. I think we'll see a lot of 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 7s. And I think that's going to be a moment where Dez Bryant's going to have to come up big because Jason Witten coming off a monster week, they're going to look at him. They're not going to let him get loose on them. So Dallas knows what they need to do, in my opinion, but I'm still going to go with Pittsburgh here. I'm going to go Pittsburgh 28-21.
Wow, man. The week Darnell goes against Dallas, I go with Dallas. So I'm going to I'm going with Dallas on this one, man. They've been looking impressive. Ezekiel Elliott's been doing his thing. Dak Prescott has been doing his thing. Just Pittsburgh, man, these last couple of weeks, Darnell touched it earlier. They had not really been, 3 weeks. So I think they had a bye week, actually 2 weeks ago. But the last couple of times they played, I just have not really been impressed with them. My boys were able to pull off a win against them last week. But just think, Ezekiel Elliott's going to have a good time running the ball against Pittsburgh to help move those chains. I think Dallas is going to help control that clock on them as well. I do have them winning this game, with a close one. So I have Dallas winning 24-17. And last but not least, we have Seattle versus New England.
And we lost you.
Yeah.
Super Bowl matchup from a couple years ago. Games in Gillette, though. So I think the same team will win. So we'll with Brady's been on fire since he came off suspension. LeGarrette Blount's been a hammer, though. Seattle, they had an interesting game last week. A lot of controversy with Richard Sherman taking full advantage of the rule book.
Yeah.
And seeming like he knows how to play the game better than the officials do. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think New England takes this one. I'll go with them 27-24.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to be gaining any ground on Darnell here, but may gain some ground on Trey. I'm going with the Patriots as well. At home, Patriots always play well. Another thing is Jimmy Graham's coming off a big week, but if anybody knows how to shut down a key player for another team, that's Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Just find a way to do it, no matter who's on their roster. They just know how to play every other team in the NFL. It's pretty remarkable. Like Darnell said, Tom Brady playing really good football. Rob Gronkowski's been an animal since he's gotten healthy, and Tom Brady's been back. So, deadly combination. I'm gonna go with the Patriots by a score of 24-17.
All right.
Good game too. It'll be very. I think this will be one you watch to the end.
Yeah. Do have the Patriots winning this one as well. Like you guys said, Tom Brady's clicking. Gronkowski's doing this thing as well. The offense just been looking. Well, the whole team just been looking good. Seattle, I don't think people fear Seattle, especially their defense. Like they used to.
Yeah.
I just think that, New England, how they're just clicking, with Brady's back and everything. Especially they're at home. I just think this is going to be a win for them. So I have New England winning 31-24. There we go. All right, guys. Anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, just real quick, your assessment of that Seattle defense, I think, is pretty spot on. I mean, Tyrod Taylor was kind of all over him last week. And if Tyrod Taylor can be over him, Tom Brady should be all over him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do not think people, fear that team like they used to. Richard Sherman, he's still a beast. I don't think people fear him like they do this year, like he's been like previous years. So, yeah, I think Brady got it this week, man. All right, guys. Anything else to add? Okay, guys. As always, appreciate you all for tuning in to the show. You can check us out on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play. We're everywhere, so just feel free to hit us up on Google, Bing, whatever your search bar is. You should be able to find us. Also, check us out on Twitter at DKM_cast. Also, man, if you're in the cars, check out my cousin's YouTube channel at the Black Scat Pack. He does this thing with car video, so huge shout out to him as well. So, as always, guys, appreciate y'all for listening. Take care. Thank you.